has the power to transform our world, and so does Dr. and Professor δρ.Ζαβός. Welcome to Cyprus, and thank you so much for being here today.
I do very few things. This is one that I do, and I do it with pleasure. It's good to be here.
Thank you so much. So I have so many questions to ask, and I would like to start about the controversy of human cloning.
Well, human cloning is controversial because a lot of people don't know much about it. And then secondly, there are a lot of other people that make a lot of stories about it. And so when you tell somebody, I can pinch you and get a cell or two from you, and I can create a human very similar to you, as a matter of fact, 100% just like you, it's going to carry 100% of your DNA, then they'll say, wow, you gotta be God. This is not possible. And then the argument that a lot of people don't realize, in Christianity we live and we believe in the Bible. And so to make them sort of feel comfortable about what I do is that I said, God made cloning available from day one when he created the first human being. According to the Bible, God created Adam. He did not create Eve similar to Adam. He took a part of Adam and created Eve. Therefore, God actually was the first cloner that cloned the first human being.
So it's not against the humanity or the God or the Christianity and all this stuff. What about the people that they are against human cloning?
Well, you can't win it all, as we say in America. So a lot of people really are against it. If you ask them specifically what is that you are against, some of them will not be able to answer that question. They just say, I don't know much about it. It sounds so controversial. It could destroy the world. It could bring the world to an end and must destroy humanity. Then I'm against it. But hey, listen, they said exactly the same things back when Bob Edwards, that created Louise Brown, the first test tube baby, that he was to create monsters. And today, I don't know how many percentages there are here, but I am meeting more and more families. I met a family of 5 the other day that all 5 children were IVF babies, okay?
And you have also helped a lot of people or couples or heterosexual people to become parents, and that it's really important. I mean, doing miracles to the people that they couldn't carry a child.
That's exactly what we do. Actually, we do not help anybody that wants to be cloned per se. We only assist those patients that exhausted all aspects of human reproduction and they're entitled to have a child. I believe that once you come in this world, there are 2 other things that you can do, is reproduce and die. That's the destiny of every species. And so if you're born and you die, you skipped the main part of why you're here.
In 2009, there were a lot of experts that they had a controversial claim about human cloning and all this stuff. And one of them was Pyrrhos, the brother of the former Prime Minister of Greece, Kostas Simitis, who mentioned that all of this is just scientifically brutally.
Well, you can play politics with science, okay? And those people obviously are trying to make the news. You know, I don't understand what barbarity is. He better define that, what it is. By helping a couple to have a child is barbaric. The man must be out of his mind. I wish he would face me and tell me that, because I can tear the guy apart. You know, it's a joke for somebody to say that, but you know, the guy wanted to make the front page that day, and so he did. That story stayed in Greece. He didn't go anywhere else. And if you ask me, what do you rate that story? I rate it PG. And the definition of PG is pure garbage. I always tell people that who made me to be who I am actually is not the people that love me and they pet me and they agree with me. Are the people that are saying, you cannot do this.
that you had?
Oh, hell yes, I will. And so 6 months from now, if you tell me I cannot turn this water into wine, you will be drinking wine out of that glass, okay? So I dare you challenge me.
I will challenge you, but in a good way.
Well,
I want to know what was the most challenging case that you went throughout your career?
Well, it's difficult to recall those things. I mean, I've been doing what I do for 47 years, and therefore, every day is a challenge for me, and I have to meet that challenge. There are people from all over the world calling, and I answered about 1,000 emails a day, just to begin with.
Did you have any case with Cypriots?
Of course. Well, there may even be some people in this building that I have dealt with. Yes, of course. Listen, I help people from all over the world, and I obviously make an extra effort for Cypriots to be assisted, because obviously I like Cypriots to reach their goals as much as anybody else. But, I am a Cypriot, and every red blood cell that I have that flows in my veins, it says on it, made in Cyprus.
And made from Trikomo. So I would like to know more about your childhood years.
We came from a very poor family. And so having something to eat was probably very essential at the time. I had 8 siblings. My mother got pregnant 26 times by my father. Well, today's standards obviously could vary. And then she gave birth to 16 live births. And from that, 8 of us stayed alive and, reached puberty, and et cetera, et cetera. 4 of us are still alive, and the other 4 are gone now. And so, I have a brother that is 98 years old. And so, more of the story is that the childhood in Trikomo still is with me every day of my life. And it reminds me that who I was and where I wanted to go. And every day is a challenge for me.
Can you do something about mortality?
Well, mortality is a very difficult term to define. And mortality versus immortality, etc. I mean, we have a project now, a global project that we're aiming to introduce to the world. And that was one of the reasons that I am in Cyprus actually today, is the fact that I met with some groups from outside Cyprus, of course, that are interested in a new project that we're aiming to rejuvenate the human body in such a way that we can deduct from an old man that is 75 or an old woman that is 65, 20 to 25 years.
How is this possible?
Well, the way it works is as follows. You take the body, and you begin to find out, just like you take a car and you take it to the mechanic and puts it on the lifters, and he begins to look underneath it, opens the doors, open the hood, and then we find out what is defect, what is lacking. Does it need a new air filter, oil filter, a fuel injection system? Does it need new tires, new muffler, new air conditioning fluid, whatever? And then we rejuvenate those things, and then when you drive it out of the mechanic's office, or whatever, the garage, then it feels like a brand new Porsche.
Did your parents, when they died, learn you something? I mean, you wanted to bring them back to life, for example, or something?
Well, that entered my mind, of course, but it's very difficult to execute such an effort. I mean, it really. One of our hardest items right now, and incidentally, I want to tell the Cypriot people that I am back now on rejuvenating my cloning work, but and also rejuvenating my rejuvenation effort for the globe, for the world, is the fact that we're not only interested in assisting couples becoming pregnant with a clone embryo, but also we're interested in bringing their child back by giving us their DNA, the child's DNA. And I have done this, and I've already announced that, and it was on, it made the news. And so it's not a secret. So if somebody would say, I want to bring my child back, although I know it's not going to be the same, but it would have exactly the same genome. It's going to be an identical twin of the child. That's pretty much what it means, is that I want that back.
Yes, but this child, when it's going to be the clone of the original one who has already died, it's going to carry the diseases with him, the clone, I mean. What is the main characteristics of the clone? What is the main difference from the original one?
Well, to my knowledge, and of course I have only tell you what my knowledge is, and based upon other animal models that we see, is the fact that a clone will not really carry anything other than the genomic material of either the deceased individual or the parent that donated the cell to extract the genome from and introduced it to create via somatic cell nuclear transfer the child that they want as a clone. My daughters, that they're not twins obviously, they're only 3 years apart, the one just finished becoming a full-blown attorney with 3 college degrees at age 25. The one that bears the name Theodora was my mother's name. She earned a college degree at age 20, and now she's a first-year medical student, top of her class, and ready to conquer the world.
With that mind, of course, she will be on the top of the class.
Well, it's not the mind, it's the fact that, you know, when you coach your children, you can lecture them all you want, but you have to show them the way in a realistic way. So more of the story is that parenting is easy for me because it's simply, I have a lot of things to share with my children in a positive way.
How many children do you have?
I have 5 children. I have 3 from a previous association and 2 from my last association.
I would like to know, in case that maybe your second wife couldn't carry a child, would you try to embody in her womb a human clone in order to make an experiment here?
I'm not supporting that. I'm Cypriot. I am from Trikovo. My mother got pregnant 26 times. And therefore, I have a very good track record. I wouldn't go there. Of course, I thank God that I didn't have to, and I didn't have to make that decision. But if you ask me today if I would, I said no.
What about the ethical code of human cloning? Under what circumstances can you create a human cloning?
You mentioned the term ethical. Ethics can be a dirty word and a clean word. You know, ethics is a personal thing. Nobody would define for you what's ethical, okay? I debated ethical questions before and ethicists, and some of them I can buy 2 for $1. That's how cheap they are. They have read a book, and they says, today I'm an ethicist because I read that book. And I say, give me a break. What do we do every day? We have to follow our own ethical rules that we define. When the doctor opens the door and lets the patient in and closes the door, is between that patient and the doctor. The doctor really does not open the door every 5 minutes and say, am I doing it ethically? Of course not. He has his guidelines that guide him. I've been doing this for 47 years, and because of that, I know exactly what's good, bad, and ugly to follow.
What was the most weird request that you had from a person or a celebrity maybe?
Somebody walked into my office one day.
A celebrity or a person?
In the U.S. He just walked into my office, and he wanted to have a conference call with me, and he says, I have somebody's DNA. Would you clone this individual? And he pulls in a bunch of hair. This happened, and I said, you realize that the hair is dead tissue, is not live. It doesn't have any life in it. It comes alive and then it dies eventually after it leaves the hair follicle. But I said, just out of curiosity, I said, who is this individual? He says to me, Elvis Presley.
Who was that?
An individual that had Elvis Presley's hair.
Priscilla?
No, I cannot tell you that. But it happened. Well, a lot of things happen, but this I think that captures the moment, that how the desire to bring somebody back. I've been called when Michael Jackson died.
Is there a common secret in the scientific world that is going to shock all of us?
Probably yes, but you know, what we do is for the most part is shocking to the world. But you know, I was born στα περβόλια του Τριγόμου. I am δρ.Ζαβός and I love what I am. And so I don't know exactly how I was inspired to be who I am, but I am happy that I am who I am and do the things that I do because I help humanity. Helping humanity gives you a very special, unique satisfaction. I went to China in 1985 to visit the China Dairy Association in Shanghai. They wanted me to discover and introduce ways of creating a milk production herd of cows in India, in China, because they only had 8 cows, the whole country, to milk.
Because you mentioned cow, I would like to know your opinion about Dolly the sheep.
Well, Dolly the sheep was cloned in a very effective way. I mean, today we can, if you give me 10 eggs, I can create 5 embryos. With Dolly, they had 220 eggs, and they created 22 embryos, and Dolly was the only success. So years ago, they created something with very, very low efficiency. Today, the way that we do things is a much higher efficiency. And because of that, the reason for that is that we are using a lot of technology that was developed via the in vitro fertilization technology that resembles that. The only thing that we do different is how we create that embryo by doing what we call a somatic cell nuclear transfer. Take the cell from an individual instead of the sperm and the egg and putting that cell inside an enucleated egg and creating an embryo.
What do you want to leave as a legacy?
That's for the world to worry. I am not, you know, I haven't thought of that, really. When people think that I ought to have a statue and a platform and all this and all that, I said, let's have a beer. Just relax. You know, that's not who I am. I am not, to me, my company's motto is, people is my business and the world is my market. And if I touch the world every day and talk to people every day and make people happy and give them what they want, I go home and I say, mission accomplished.
Wow, that's amazing.
And ready to go for tomorrow. This business of who I want to be when I am gone, that's for somebody else to worry.
Thank you so much indeed. It was a pleasure to meet you in person.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Σπουδαία συνέντευξη, σπουδαίος άνθρωπος, σπουδαίος επιστήμονας, τιμάει την Κύπρο σίγουρα στο εξωτερικό εδώ και πολλά χρόνια, 46 τόσα χρόνια, στην πρωτοπορία, στην έρευνα, έτσι, για το καλό της ανθρωπότητας βέβαια και για την τεκνοποίηση.